Alright, now we will learn about the grid template areas. So to do so, what I'll do, I'll just get rid of everything here and get rid of all of the grid related properties from these elements. Okay, alright. Now go to the browser. As you can see, this happens. Now what I'll do, I will add two more elements. So I'll just uncomment these, and I will just work with three elements here. Okay, all right. So we have three elements. Okay. Now let's go to the documentation of the grid template areas. The grid template areas CSS properties specifies named grid areas, establishing the cells in the grid and assigning them names. Okay, so what do I mean by that and what exactly it means? So basically, as you can see, we have some sort of letters, right? But it doesn't have to be letters only. It can be some names as well, but it is pretty common approach to have some letters as the names here. So let's see that in action, and let's create this sort of a layout inside of our application here as well. Okay, so what I'll do, I will add some gap as well. So I will add some gap of something like something like 10 pixels. Okay, hit save. Now we have some gaps. Okay, all right. So what I'll do, I'll add the grid template areas. Okay, and here we have to go in the second line here, and we have to open up the strings. Okay, and we can just indent the string as well. So what I'll do, A, and A. Then in the next column, I will do, what was that? That particular example. So B, C, C, and then B, C, C. Okay, all right. So B, C, C, and then in the next line, once again, B, C, C. Okay, all right. So what exactly does this particular thing means? It means, hey, define a grid layout where it should be 3 columns and 3 rows. Okay, and the first thing should take up all of the first row. Then this B element should take up 2 rows, and the C element should take up 2 row and 2 column. Now, if I just go here inside of my code, nothing happens, right? But one thing you can see here, as you can see, these are all of the grid line names. We haven't specified the names. These names are automatically generated. Okay, and we can do something like show track sizes or show area names, and we can see extended grid lines as well. So here I will just check on this show area names, and now as you can see here, we have A, we have B, and we have C here written out. Okay, so what I'll do, I will go here on these items, the grid items, and specify the grid areas. So grid area, and here I have to specify one of that, and that should be one of these values. So A, B, or C, which we have. Okay, so one of these values. So for the first one, I will just add the grid area of A. And one thing to point out here, it is not inside of the quotes, it is just A. Okay, it is just A. But here, these grid areas are inside of the quotes, right? Then inside of the 2, what I can do grid area and set it to B. And then for the third one, I can do grid area and set it to C. If I hit save, now as you can see, we have our grid here. So, and that is following this particular pattern. Okay, so we have here a 3 by 3 grid, right? And here the first element should take up the first row, which it is taking up the first row, right? The second element, the B element, should take up one single column with 2 rows, okay, on the left, which it is taking up as well. and the third element, which we have, the C element, should take up 2 columns and 2 rows in the right bottom corner, which it does here as well. Okay, so now you might be thinking, okay, that is awesome, but can I do something like this irregular shape here if I save that? No, you cannot do that. You have to do a simple shape, something like a rectangle or a square. Okay, you cannot do some sort of different shapes here inside of the grid template areas. Okay, all right, so in that way we can use the grid template areas along with the grid areas to make a grid layout. Okay, so as you can see, this happens, and if I just close the DevTools, as you can see, this is what happens. Now in the documentation, there are some other examples as well. So if I go here, as you can see, this is one of the other example, which is BBBB and ACC. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this one. And this is a short demonstration here, but we will see that in action in our code as well. So if I just paste it down here and hit save, so Prettier has formatted the code. And now as you can see, this grid happens. So as you can see, this is the second one, the B element here. Okay, and we have the A element here and the C elements here. Okay, so this is something which you can do, or what you can do, you can just do Control D, Control D, Control D, okay, to select all of them and do something like element B. Okay, then we can do something like element A, and we can do something like Control D, element C. Okay, now as we have changed these ones, so we have to change these ones as well. So we have to do element here. Okay, so that should be element A, then element B, and then element C. Okay, hit save. Now as you can see, our grid is working properly. Okay, all right. Now you might be thinking like, hey, I don't want to cover up the whole grid. I want to have some free space as well. So how we can do that? So to demonstrate that, what I'll do, I'll just undo all of the changes here for these ones, because I just want to work with the letters here. And for example, what you want here, this third element is taking up 2 rows, but you want the third element should take only one single row, and below that there should be an empty space. So how we can do that? To do that, here we go. So we have this sort of syntax as well. So we are replacing that particular element letter with a dot. So what I can do here, I can go here inside of this grid template areas, and I can, instead of the C, I can use a dot. If I do that, now as you can see, it is not spanning across the 2 rows. Okay, so what I can do, I can demonstrate the same thing as well. So like this one, so I'll just copy paste that. Okay, so if I just do this and just paste it down here, hit save, and as you can see, it is saying like A. So the A element should take the first 2 columns and the first 2 rows. Then we have an empty space here and here where we have the dots, and here as well we have some empty space. Then we have the B element, and then we have the C element. Okay, and as you can see, that reflects inside of our grid as well. So this first element, if I just open up the DevTools, as you can see, we are having all of these grid lines here, and the first element here is taking up 2 rows and 2 columns, and then we have some empty space here, empty space here, and empty space here. And this is the second element, and this is the third element, which is indicated by B and C respectively. Okay, all right, so in that way we can use the grid template areas to dynamically generate the grids, and this is a little bit easier for me as well, because I am understanding the whole grid by looking into the grid template areas. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and copy this particular line here. okay, and paste it down here because that is a rather simple line. Okay, so as you can see, there we go. Here is our grid. Awesome. So this is the grid template areas with the grid area CSS property.